Hello everyone, Richard here at Calvin Wazoo, and I'm here with part 2 of my 4-part series on the 100 records that I would keep if I needed to get rid of the rest. So, little short recap. I'll have a link in the down under to part 1. Eventually I'll have links to all of them in each of the 4 parts, so that you can see them. And see what the 100 albums are. The whole premise on this is based on 2 video concepts that I have seen recently. One of them being one posted by Kyle Reed at Kyle Reed Music, in which he just went through his top 50 records. And he did that in 2 parts. And then the other idea from a recent thread that people were doing, the 10 albums I listened to the most, which I also participated in. So it got me thinking about, this subject, because it's one nonetheless that I am also thinking about in real terms, and that is if I needed for some reason to dispose of my collection, what albums would I keep? And I selected the number 100. I thought that was a good number of, albums to keep, out of the roughly 1,500 albums that I have, and we're talking vinyl records. And, I know that there are people who have a lot more than I do, but still, 100 seems to be a reasonable number to keep for whatever reason, need to sell everything else. The basic caveats that go with me making this list is that, many albums I have on vinyl and CD. So some records that are omitted from my list that you might expect for me to have in my list, well, I have it on CD. And because I wanted to get others on the list, I admitted those because I'm happy with the CD version. And then chances are, if the addition to my list, that a selection makes it to my list, seems kind of odd, that's probably because I don't have it on CD, and I still would like to, keep a copy of that release. And this may be particularly true for some 60s and 70s rock. Now, most of the items on my list I might consider to be like the best of that artist or genre, but that's not always the case. It could be just simply that it's just the one that I want to have representative of that artist, keeping in mind that I may have the CD release of something. There are a few artists, however, that aren't going to be on this list at all, and that's because no matter what, I'm keeping what I have of them, and that includes car seat headrests. I'm keeping every car seat headrest recording that I have, regardless of format, period. So you won't hear me mention them in the lists. And also, you won't hear me mention in the list as anything by Ryuichi Sakamoto, because I'm just keeping all those records as well. And probably all my anime soundtracks, I'm going to keep them. And you're also going to find that there are no classical music items in my list. There's a chance one may make it before I'm done with this entire list. The list is still kind of changing as I create the videos. But that's mostly because I have CD copies of many of the orchestral and choral music recordings that I have, in addition to the vinyl releases. And so there's really I would much prefer to be keeping a CD release of this type of music than vinyl release. But I'm still thinking about one in particular, just because it's so rare to find anything by this composer on CD. All right, so I did part one. I'll have a link in the down under, to part one. This is part two. And the first record that I'm going to start off with is this one, Eskimo by the Residents. I have quite a few Residents albums. This is the one I'm going to keep. It is the most interesting to me. And it also is, I wouldn't say the most listenable, but to me it is a brilliant album and very representative to me of the entire concept of the Residents. So that's why I would keep Eskimo. Very cool label that it has as well. So that's the first one in the list. This is the eponymous debut of Tracy Chapman, and this is going to be making it in my list. Just a really, really good album all around. There's really not a clunker on this record, and I just love it. It took me a long time to find a good copy of it at a reasonable price. I mean, I was surprised that I was able to get this for, I think it was less than $20. I can't remember now. All I know was that when I saw it, I said I gotta have it. So very, very nice copy of this as well. A couple jazz records that I will want to keep in my collection are my two favorites by John Coltrane, the first being Soul Train. I have done a video about John Coltrane for my Jazz Mondays, so you should check that out and find out what else I have to say about this record, Soul Train, and this other one that I would be keeping, and that is Giant Steps. So these are the two Coltrane records that I would be keeping in my collection. Be sure to check out my Jazz Monday series and see the episode about John Coltrane. I'm just moving all over the place because this list was sort of generated as I thought of things. And that would be this, The Who, Who's Next. I've got Tommy and Quadrophenia on CD. No reason for me to keep the vinyl copies of these. I would be satisfied with that. This one, I would, my CD copy is not a very good CD copy, and I don't know, this is the record where I feel like, yeah, this is the vinyl I want to have representing The Who. So Who's Next is going to be on that list. And then the debut for John Prine. What a fantastic album. I mean, I've got a couple CDs, John Prine CDs, and I've got a box set of some live recordings, early live recordings, but this is clearly his debut is the most brilliant and the strongest of all his releases. I mean, there's other great releases, but this is such a timeless masterpiece that definitely I would want to be keeping that. And that's, again, John Prine's eponymous debut. When it comes to the band Genesis, and even if I include Peter Gabriel and his solo career, there's one I'm just going to keep is this, Foxtrot. Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, I've got that on CD. And when it comes to the solo material, I'm going to be happy with what I have on CD as well. This is the vinyl experience for me is with this particular record, with Foxtrot. I mean, and it isn't just because of the masterpiece Supper's Ready, but the songs like Get 'Em Out by Friday, and what are the other ones here? This is on the Charisma label, with the Mad Hatter on there. But yeah, we've got Watcher of the Skies, Timetable, Get 'Em Out by Friday, the Cam Utility, and the Coastliners. just a really fantastic record, and this is definitely the one that I am going to want to keep in my collection. So as I quickly slip that back in there, I've got pretty much a complete collection of Captain Beefheart, and while there are many really, really good ones on there, and I may change my mind later, but right now the one that I want to keep would be this one, Trout Mask Replica. I do like this album. And although, you know, Ice Cream for Crow, the debut, they're all really, really good. And I don't have a whole lot of, I don't think I have any Beefheart on CD. Come to think of it, I might have this on CD, which means I might change my mind because I have it on CD, and I might go for something like Ice Cream for Crow, or perhaps one of the other ones around that era. But anyway, for now, it is Trout Mask Replica. And an important, significant release and influence in music is this record here, and that is Spiderland by Slint. Definitely going to keep this. You know, I have Spiderland's Tweez album, and I have the 12-inch, or is it a 10-inch? I think it's a, it might be the EP. I think it's a 10-inch EP. You know, it's right over here. I could probably pull it out and look, but I'm not going to, because I'm not going to keep it. This is what I'm going to keep. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant album, and also really important in terms of influence, even though, I mean, we're talking about really at the time, you know, kids barely out of high school when they were recording this, and then and he'd been touring since they were in their young teens with a lot of punk acts. Got a couple soundtracks, yes, soundtracks that I would keep simply because of the songs that have been put together for these soundtracks, and this one is Stand By Me. I mean, I just love the soundtrack, and a great selection of songs from the mid to late 1950s, and it just is a really good compilation of songs from that era. Pretty decent movie too. And then another one soundtrack would be Trainspotting. You know, there's I think there's going to be a couple songs on here. Well, most of these, yeah, represent for a lot of artists. I'm not going to be keeping vinyl releases of them. And the other key element here is the song Born Slippy by Underworld. This is really, other than buying the single, this is the only way you're going to get it on an LP. So, and also, pretty wild ass movie. But yes, the music on here, great compilation that I would definitely keep. All right, then, let's see. This is my number 12 album for the, I'm just, you know, this is the 12th album in this current list of 25. Listen Like Thieves by InXS. You know, maybe there's another better album of theirs, but, you know, this is the one I want to keep. Number one, it's the only InXS album that I have, and I really, really like it. I mean, all the way through, solid. To me, there's not a dull song, snoozer on here at all. This is a really solid record, and I definitely want to keep it. I love listening to it every time I play it. I picked two records from the band REM, and I really had to think for a while because, you know, do I pick an early recording because I have on CD Eponymous, you know, and then I have, of course, I have everything now all the way up to Monster on vinyl. So it was kind of like, but I also have a lot of CDs of the later material, so it was kind of a, what did I want to keep? And I decided that the way I would do it with REM is I'm going to keep their very first recording, which is an EP, and that's Chronic Town. That would be one. Even though there's at least, one song, Gardening at Night, and Gardening at Night, and what's the other song? That might be it. That's on eponymous. Yeah, 1 Million Stumble. Yeah, no, Gardening at Night's the only one that's on the eponymous album. But this is a really, really great debut for the band, even though it's not considered as an official album because it's an EP. But nonetheless, that would be one that I would keep. The other one is Monster. I love this record. This is a original. This is an OG pressing that I actually bought from a vendor in Japan, and even with the shipping, this record cost less than what vendors in North America were selling first pressings of this record for, and it's, if not my favorite, very close to my favorite release of theirs, really. Even though for a lot of people, I know a lot of people that they really didn't like this particular album, but yeah, I do. So Monster is one that's the one I would want to keep. All right, I've got a couple greatest hits albums that I would keep rather than whole releases, and just because, again, I think they're just really well curated, great compilations. And this particular Roxy Music Greatest Hits, I love, love, love this record. In fact, this is pretty much satisfied throughout my listening life. This has pretty much satisfied my desire to hear Roxy music. I haven't really had an urge to buy any of their individual albums. And the other nice thing about this particular compilation that is really sticks with the earlier Roxy music years. I think the latest song on here might be, it's probably going to be, God, no, yeah, this is way before Avalon, which to me was, so that Roxy Music Greatest Hits. And another compilation of hits is this one, The Best of the Animals. However, and as I always say whenever I talk about this record, you need to make sure that you get the Rainbow MGM pressing that has this photo on the back cover, because it is the superior sounding pressing, if you can find one that's in good shape. This is an album that people played to death, because subsequent pressings, subsequent releases used different source tapes than this one, because the original source tapes that were used to make this one were damaged. I can't remember if they were it's because of oxidation or whatever, but that's why they had to go to other source material to continue printing a Best of Animals compilation. So this is the one you want, the MGM Rainbow label that has that particular back cover photo. So yeah, I've got a couple Rolling Stones that I would keep if I had to get rid of everything else. The first one being this, Get Your Yayas Out. This is such a great album, such a great concert recording, and just a great performance. And yeah, so this is one that I would keep. And then I have Hot Rocks on CD, so that really does cover a lot of Rolling Stones, and I thought about having Some Girls, keeping that one because I really, really like Some Girls, but I have that on CD. So, and so the other one I decided is this one. This is such a perfect album, Sticky Fingers. I mean, as an entire album, it is just really, really so good. Although I know because of the misunderstanding of the song Brown Sugar, the Stones have stopped playing that in concert. They won't play that song anymore. I guess because they were getting feedback or concerned that it was racially insensitive, but which I guess you could interpret it that way. I've never interpreted it that way because, you know, when you really listen to the lyrics, they're not, yeah, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. You know, maybe I'm wrong and maybe someone else can enlighten me more on that. Certainly feel free to leave a comment in the Down Under, but it's a great record and I would keep it. Another one of a blues rock is, and I love Johnny Winter, and that's this one. This is the Progressive Blues Experiment. This is such an amazing album, and it's got Meantown Blues on here, which is just one of my favorite Johnny Winter songs. It's just and I love this is like a dirty recording, meaning it is a very sparse one-take live recording, studio recording, and I just like the grittiness of it. And then another blues record is this one here, the Fabulous Thunderbirds, T-Bird Rhythm. This is such a great record as well. Not a dead song on throughout. And I've got some other, Fabulous Thunderbirds. But yeah, this is the one that I want to keep for sure, even though I do have it on CD. This one, of course, I would definitely have to keep because I don't have it on CD. It's a fairly recent pickup, and this is Bandits by Aksak Maboul, this Belgian music project that is actually from the 70s. And this is a repressing, and it's actually a pretty good repressing because it also includes a CD that's a retrospective of Aksak Maboul from the very beginning in the early, from 1977 through 1980 and then into 2015 with the music that they were doing. You know, this is avant-garde, experimental, even to some degree a little bit of musique concrète. But yeah, Aksak Maboul, definitely something that I'm going to be keeping. And I've got a lot of Tunarlin, which is this band, a Saharan Blues Tuareg band, and this is my most recent acquisition and addition, and it's really my favorite. This is a fantastic record, fantastic recording. Love the songs on here. So yeah, this is the one that I would keep of all the Tunarlin that I have. Elwan is the name of that. And then I certainly would not be getting rid of this, giving up on this, and that is this, Old and in the Way. With Jerry Garcia, Vassar Clements, Peter Rowan, David Grisman, and John Kahn. And then recorded by Owsley Stanley. It's just a fantastic, fantastic record. This is an original pressing on the Round Records label. Definitely am going to keep this. Such a fun bluegrass album. And then, although this is not an original pressing, it's a recent mono repress of Dr. John, his debut album Gree, on very cool, this sort of a psychedelic lime green, kind of yellow green vinyl. But yes, this is one that of all my Dr. John albums, this is the one that I would want to keep. So from 1968, using that original mono mix. So yeah, Gree from Dr. John, the Night Tripper. And then my last record for this particular lot of 25 is another blues, psychedelic blues, and that's this one, Hot Tuna. So yeah, just the name Hot Tuna. It's from a live recording at the New Orleans house in Berkeley, California. Recorded in 1970, I believe. Hot Tuna. I've got a few of their records, but yes, this is the one that I would keep. It's just such a cool, such a great album. So there you have it. We've now done 50 records of the 100 that I would keep if for whatever reason I needed to dispose of my record collection. Be sure to leave a comment in the down under. I will be linking these all together and eventually create, like a mini playlist that will have all 4 of the installments together. So, these will be edited as things come along. You can find me on Instagram as NewsDude76. That's NEWZDUDE76. And I have a Facebook page called Calvin Wazoo. So you can find me there, where you can find other things that I post besides my own videos. And always remember, don't forget to like, subscribe if you want, but be sure, hit that like button because it really helps. And don't forget to pray for the people inside your head, for they are going to be there when you're dead.